Episode 7, Part 1. Through the Eyes of Our Loved Ones. Control. I just wanted to fix it. Welcome back to Bridging the Gap, understanding both sides. One goal, healing. I'm Christina Fox. Today we're talking about control. Now, I want to point something out before we get started. Here is a little-known fact about me. I have always had control issues. And I mean way before my sons ever started using drugs. So even though we're talking about control today in relation to addiction, know that control is something a lot of us struggle with in different areas of our lives. I definitely did. I've changed a lot throughout my own healing journey, and I'm happy to say I've pretty much relinquished my title as the Queen of Control. But boy, oh boy, it was a problem up until just a few years ago. So, I'm not talking about this one from some perfect place where I've always known how to let go. I've had to learn it too. Now, let's get back to the topic. Many of us have struggled with control without even realizing what we were doing. When someone you love is destroying their life, standing by, and watching feels almost impossible.
So we
search their room, watch their behavior, listen to their voice on the phone. We notice their eyes, their movements, their mood. We may check their location, search for them, call the local jails and hospitals. We ask questions we already know the answers to, while trying to figure out whether they're telling us the truth. We become so consumed with what's happening in their life that we barely notice what's going on in our own. I understand this all too well because I've lived it for many years and still have to stop myself from traveling down the rabbit hole. Both of my sons are still in active addiction. We often believe, if I can stay one step ahead of this, maybe I can stop the unthinkable from happening. If I find the right treatment center, if I say the right words, if I get them away from the wrong people, if I answer their calls, if I give one more chance, maybe they'll be okay. And underneath all of that control is usually something much more vulnerable.
fear.
We're afraid they're going to overdose, afraid they're going to get arrested, afraid they're going to hurt someone, afraid someone will hurt them, afraid they'll disappear, and afraid the next phone call will be the worst one yet. So we keep trying, and eventually, trying to help can quietly turn into trying to control an outcome that was never ours to control. That's difficult to admit, because our intentions may have been completely rooted in love. But love doesn't give us control over another person's choices. And that's one of the hardest truths addiction teaches us. We can find the treatment center. We can't make them stay. We can give them the phone number. We can't make them call. We can drive them to rehab. We can't make them choose recovery. We can explain the consequences. We can't make those consequences matter enough to change them. We can love them with everything we have and still not be able to save them. That realization can feel terrifying, because then we're faced with a question many of us don't want to answer. If I can't control what happens to them, what am I supposed to do? And this is where our own healing begins. We start learning the difference between support and control. Support allows another adult to own their choices. Control makes us responsible for the outcome. And when we make ourselves responsible for someone else's outcome, their relapse feels like our failure. Their arrest feels like something we should have prevented. Their bad decision becomes something we should have seen coming. Sometimes the answer is painful. Because there is nothing that we can do, the choice is completely theirs. To those listening on the recovery side, our trying to control the situation was purely out of love. We may have called constantly, asked way too many questions, and we pushed treatment on you in every conversation. I know it all felt suffocating. And yes, our fear was unhealthy. Underneath all of that was someone who was terrified. We didn't know what to do. We were watching you disappear into something we couldn't understand, and we were trying desperately to pull you back. There were times that we held on tighter because we could feel you slipping further away. This is not an excuse for invading your privacy or trying to manage your life. My hope is that it helps explain where some of it came from. Just as we are asking you to take responsibility for your recovery, we have to take responsibility for our own healing too. Part of that healing is learning to release control, not love.
Control.
There's a difference. Releasing control doesn't mean, I don't care what happens to you. It means, I finally understand that I cannot make your choices for you. It means I can love you without managing you. I can support your recovery without becoming responsible for it. I can hope without making my entire life dependent on what you do next. I can have boundaries without using them to force you to change. And I can allow you to experience the consequences of your decisions without believing I have abandoned you. That is incredibly hard, especially when the person struggling is your child, your partner, your parent, your sibling, or someone else you deeply love. Because sometimes releasing control feels a lot like giving up, but they're not the same thing. And our healing lives in that difference. I thank you for spending this time with me today. If this episode helped you in any way, please listen to part 2, then like, share, and follow the podcast. If there's a topic you'd like me to cover in a future episode, I'd truly love to hear from you. To connect with me, please visit ChristinaFoxAuthor.com. From there, you can explore my books, listen to the podcast, read the blog, subscribe to my newsletter, and connect with me across all of my social media platforms. Until next time, protect your peace, choose healthy boundaries, and remember to take care of yourself. Bridging the Gap. Episode 7, Part 2, Through the Eyes of Recovery. Control. I just wanted to escape. Welcome back to Bridging the Gap, understanding both sides. One goal, healing. I'm Christina Fox. So, while our loved ones may have been trying to control what was happening to us, many of us were trying desperately to control what was happening inside of us. We found a substance that made everything go quiet, at least for a little while. You see, our addiction turned into an escape from the pain, and from thinking about the things that may have happened to us. We didn't want to remember. We didn't want to feel lonely, angry, or ashamed. Maybe it was trauma, grief, abuse, depression, fear, rejection. Or maybe you can't even explain what you were trying to escape. You just knew that when you drank, used, or got high, for a little while, you didn't have to feel. And when something finally gives you relief from something you've been trying to escape, it's easy to understand why you might want that feeling again. But eventually, something that once felt like an escape begins controlling you. That's the irony of addiction. We used because we wanted to change how we felt. Then, eventually, the substance began deciding how we were going to feel, when we were going to sleep, when we were going to eat, where we were going, who we spent our time with, what we were willing to do, and what we were willing to lose. Our lives slowly begin revolving around the very thing we once believed gave us relief. And somewhere along the way, that escape became another form of control. Except, we were not the ones controlling it anymore. While all of this is happening inside of us, our loved ones were watching it unfold from the outside. And what they saw looked completely different. They saw someone making choices that made absolutely no sense. They seen us losing jobs, relationships, money, homes, time with our children, our health, and our freedom. They didn't understand why we couldn't see what was happening. So they tried harder. We may have pushed them away, got angry, lied, or disappeared. From our loved one's view, they may have thought, I'm trying to save your life. Please understand, when someone is using substances to escape what's happening inside of them, taking away the substance doesn't automatically take away the reason they needed to escape. Sometimes it exposes it. The grief is still there. The trauma is still there. The anxiety is still there. The shame is still there. The problems we avoided are still there. And now, we're being asked to feel all of it without the thing we've been using to make it disappear. And that is terrifying. It doesn't mean that you should give us money. It doesn't mean they shouldn't have boundaries. And it certainly doesn't excuse the things we do while we're using. But maybe it helps explain why someone can desperately need recovery and still be terrified of it. Recovery requires a different kind of control. Eventually, recovery asks us to do something addiction never required. It asks us to stay present, to stay when we are uncomfortable, to stay when we are angry, to stay when we are ashamed, and to stay when we want to run. That's hard, because recovery isn't simply learning how not to use. It's learning how to live without constantly escaping ourselves. We begin learning healthier ways to handle what we feel. We talk. We journal. We pray. We meditate. We exercise. We go to therapy. We attend meetings. We call someone. We sit with an uncomfortable emotion long enough to realize it will pass. And slowly, we learn. We learn that we can experience pain without destroying ourselves by trying to escape it. And sometimes we try to control recovery too. We put down the substance, while still trying to control everything else. We want our relationships fixed immediately. We want everyone to trust us again. We want our children to forgive us. We want our loved ones to stop asking questions. We want the consequences gone. We want everyone to recognize how hard we're working. We think, I'm sober now. Why can't everybody move on? The short answer is because they are healing too. Just as our loved ones had to learn they couldn't control our recovery, we have to learn that we can't control their healing. We can't decide when someone trusts us again. We can't decide when someone forgives us. We can't decide whether a relationship returns to what it once was. We can't force anyone to see the person we're becoming. What we can control is what we do today. Our honesty, our actions, our recovery, our boundaries, our choices, our response when things don't go our way. And that's where our power begins returning to our loved ones. I hope part 2 helps you understand something about the other side of control. When we pushed you away, it wasn't because we didn't love you. When we refused help, it wasn't because we wanted this life. Sometimes we were holding on to the only coping mechanism we knew. An unhealthy one, a destructive one, sometimes a deadly one. But still, the one we knew. You were trying to control what was happening to us. We were trying to control what was happening inside of us. And neither side understood why the other couldn't just stop. My hope is that maybe now, we can all understand each other just a little differently. Escaping pain doesn't heal pain. It postpones it. And, usually, it adds more pain for us to eventually heal from. Recovery gives us an opportunity to finally turn around and face what we've spent so much time running from. Not all at once. Not perfectly. And not alone. But one piece at a time. Real freedom is learning that we can experience life without needing to control or escape every uncomfortable part of it. Healing begins when we finally release what we were desperately trying to control. I thank you for spending this time with me today. If this episode helped you in any way, please listen to part 1, then like, share, and follow the podcast. If there's a topic you'd like me to cover in a future episode, I'd truly love to hear from you. To connect with me, please visit ChristinaFoxAuthor.com. From there, you can explore my books, listen to the podcast, read the blog, subscribe to my newsletter, and connect with me across all of my social media platforms. Until next time, protect your peace, choose healthy boundaries, take responsibility for your healing, and remember, you don't have to control everything around you. And you don't have to escape everything inside of you.
Take care.